Are you one of those people who wanted to do something when you were younger and you didn't do it? And as you get older, you realize that maybe fear was the thing that held you back? Well, I probably have about a half a dozen stories that I can tell you about, or maybe more than that, about fear holding me back. But the one that I really wanted to start with as I get into this series that I mentioned to you guys about several weeks ago, Fear, Focus, Freedom, I wanted to speak about a particular fear that I have or had. Maybe I'm working on it. But I remember when I was in college, when I was an undergraduate, I had taken an art class. I absolutely love art. I love to draw. I love to paint. I love to sculpt. I like to create all sorts of things. I love photography. I even took a photography class when I was in college. And so art in all its different forms, I absolutely loved. Poetry, writing, you guys know that. I have a book or two. And so I remember taking this class and I had the most excellent professor. And I absolutely enjoyed my time in that art class. I remember when I walked into class, he would have everything set up on our easels for us to get started. And in the background, he would play classical music. And it was just so absolutely beautiful, just environment to go into it and start creating. And I painted quite a bit in that semester. And I remember seeing him walk around the room and looking at my work. But long story short, I remember at the close to the end of this semester, I think we were getting ready to enter our final week of school. I was a senior at the time. He called me into his office, and my art professor, and I thought, oh boy, I'm in trouble. And so I said, sure. I went to his office, and there was another art professor with him. And I thought, wow, I'm in serious trouble. There are two art professors that want to see me. And so the both of them spoke with me, and my main professor, he said to me, we've been watching you all semester. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I've been watching you work, I've been watching you paint, and you're a natural. You're really, really quite good at this. And I know you're getting ready to graduate, but I would like for you to take this. And in his hand, he had a box of acrylic paints. He said, I would like for you to take this home this summer and just paint. And I want you to get back in touch with me and the other professor. And their goal was to see if they can get my work into some small spaces in the New York, Pennsylvania area, which is where he was from. My school was in New Jersey. And so I was just, first of all, I was very shocked because I didn't realize I was going to be getting this kind of a request, this kind of, praise and acknowledgement of what I was doing. So I was super shocked. And I could just see him and the other professor just looking at me and smiling and feeling really proud. And at that time, those paints were super expensive and they gave me quite a bit of it. And so I said, sure. I said, I'll take these home and I'll be painting this summer. And I took them home and I put them initially in a storage room outside of my apartment. And they stayed there year after year after year after year after year until the years passed by. And every now and again, I would think about it and I would say to myself, why did I not do this? What could I have been? What could I have done? What could I be? And it haunts me because it's one of those things that it never leaves you. I remember being in class during that semester, and that professor took us on a field trip to the Met. It was the first time I had gone. And I absolutely fell in love with that place. So much so that the next time the other class went, which is, for the other professor, his class went, they invited me to come along. And I guess they saw something in me and they saw my love and my passion for art, and they just wanted me to have those experiences. And so I look back at this, and every now and again, I think about it, and I get really sad. Many years went by, and of course, I didn't do anything with these paints. But during the pandemic, I actually ordered some paint supplies from Amazon, and I started to paint again, so just a little bit at a time. And I don't know how long it will take me to get to the level that I was when I was taking my art class, because a lot of time has passed. But I want to be able to enter that phase again. And I think, there was this fear of I had to work and earn a living. I had school loans, a lot of school loans that I had to pay off. So it was about just living, and it was about life, and I just didn't have the time. And I think part of me too was probably fearful that maybe I really wasn't good enough. And so that dream sort of stayed there. But recently, as I started to write again, which is something I also stopped doing for a period of time, and we'll talk about that next time, I started to think about painting again and creating in that way. And every now and again, when I go to sip and paint with friends, there's an energy, there's an excitement that comes over me as I paint, and I can feel at one with a brush. And so the dream isn't over. I think maybe I've gone past the fear, and it's time to embrace this gift that I have. And it may take some time, like I said, to get back to there, but it's time to me to get past that fear. And I don't know if that teacher, I don't know if he's even still alive, but gosh, wouldn't it be nice if I can get to see him and maybe, say to him, I did try, and I've done something, and I've gone back to it, but I don't know. Fear makes us not do things. And I'm hoping that in this space and time of my life, that I can start breaking through a lot of that fear that I've had over the years, and just believing in myself. But I don't know. Do you guys have any stories? Anything that you wanted to do, or somebody thought you were good at and you just didn't